Good evening, I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. We have joining us this evening a very special guest on the broadcast. Top of 8 p.m. this evening, we have Dr. Indu Bhushan joining us, CEO of Ayushman Bharat and the National Health Authority. Dr. Bhushan, welcome to NewsX. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me here, Uday. Thank you.
My first question to you, sir, is on the current situation and how the National Health Authority is dealing with this COVID pandemic, this current coronavirus crisis.
Well, the response to COVID-19 crisis is being led by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, together with the other ministries. And NHA is supporting the whole effort within the mandate that we have. And the basic mandate that we have is to ensure that the poorest people in the country, more specifically 40% poorest families, are saved any expenditure on health. So we have come out with packages for both testing and treatment, which will be applicable for our beneficiary group, which is about 50 crore people in the country. And we want to ensure that these people, these families, are not denied treatment or testing only because they can't afford it, or they don't go into deeper poverty because of this expenditure.
Okay, and what kind of role do you feel, though, at this point the states also have to play in combating this crisis? You know, the center is, of course, proactively taking various steps, but what about state governments? What about states? What role do they have to play?
As a matter of fact, state governments are actually leading this whole process. As you know, the health is a state subject in our constitution, and state governments and state authorities have actually taken up that responsibility, and in all cases, they are at the cutting edge. They are leading up. On the contrary, I would say that central government of India is helping them cope with the crisis and providing them guidelines. And that is what exactly we are doing. We have provided guidelines about how they should have the packages framed for testing and treatment. And we are asking them to frame them, and we are supporting them in doing that. We are also supporting state governments through data because we have this large data that we have. And every day morning at 9 o'clock, we look at our data and see which state, which districts are showing a greater admission rate for COVID-like diseases, ILI, influenza-like illnesses, or SARI, severe acute respiratory illnesses. And so when we see those spikes, we provide that information to states for following up and taking actions as is needed.
Okay, but how is the coordination happening currently with states? Is it quite streamlined? How is that being done, Dr. Bhushan?
Well, you know, coordination is taking place at various levels. Within the health, we need to coordinate about what are the protocols or guidelines at the in a central level, how they are being implemented, sharing of information from states. In other sectors, information is being shared about migrant workers, who's going where, for logistics, because it's one country, and so supply chain cuts across many states. So that kind of coordination is taking place in terms of supply of medical, like PPEs, drugs. That kind of coordination is taking place across states, within states. So there's a huge amount of coordination that is taking place at various levels because that is needed because decisions have to be taken at different levels.
Okay, but as far as private sector participation is concerned now, Dr. Bhushan, how is the NHA actually working to increase private sector participation? What are you doing for this objective?
Oh, that's a very important question because private sector has a very important role to play in this, and especially right now, if you look at the COVID response from health perspective, much of the burden is being borne by public sector. Much of the testing is being done by public sector, about 80%, and much of the treatment is being provided by public sector. But if and when, unfortunately, if there's a surge, we know that public sector will not be able to cope with that, and private sector will have to play a bigger role. And that's where probably the role of Ayushman Bharat will become more prominent, because then we'll have to ensure that 21,000 hospitals that we have, some of them should be ready to take on this role of providing COVID care. And we are ready with the packages that these hospitals can use for providing treatment. And we've also accelerated our process of impaneling hospitals, because we know that private sector has to play a bigger role. And here I would like to emphasize that they have to play a role not only for COVID treatment, but also for non-COVID treatment.
Okay.
Because as you know that many public hospitals actually have become now dedicated COVID hospitals, and which was providing critical care like hemodialysis, chemotherapy. And now those patients have to go somewhere else and they can't wait. And that's where private sector has to come in non-COVID treatment as well. And that's why we are impaneling more hospitals, so that we can deal with the surge of COVID at one hand, but also non-COVID, because many of our hospitals will be engaged in providing COVID treatment.
Okay. Dr. Bhushan, also, what is the technology which is currently being used and is in place? Could you shed some more light on that for our viewers watching today?
Well, we are very proud of our IT infrastructure. This IT infrastructure connects 50 crore people with more than 21,000 hospitals and 32 states and UTs. And so we have a end-to-end paperless system where starting from identification of beneficiary and admission to the hospital to payment to the hospital by insurance company or by state is done in a paperless fashion. So we have a huge amount of data that is generated on everyday basis, and this data also shows us number of people who are potentially at high risk, all those people who are, say, more than 65, the people who have comorbidities. And so we have taken out that data, and we make proactively are calling them to ensure that they're safe, and what kind of treatment what kind of precautions they should take, and what kind of treatment they would need if they have COVID-like symptoms. So we are trying to ensure that our beneficiary group which is at high risk, is safe. And we are also working on strengthening this IT platform so that this can also provide a backbone for telemedicine in future.
And we're speaking also at a time, Dr. Bhushan, and a day which is quite important, because I believe Ayushman Bharat has marked a major milestone. 1 crore treatments have been completed by this scheme, and that's happened in such a short period of time, in just about 1.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So firstly, congratulations on that. It's great that we're speaking on such a day and such a time. Can you tell us more about this feat and this milestone and how it's been achievable? Yeah.
I'll take a break because there's an important call coming.
Okay. Okay.
I will.
Okay. I'll join you. We'll join you in a bit. Okay. We'll join you in a bit. So we're joining Dr. Bhushan in just a bit. We're taking a very short break. We're back to him in just a couple of minutes from now. Welcome back from the break. CEO of National Health Authority, Dr. Indu Bhushan, is still live with us. Dr. Bhushan, taking off from where we left before we took that break, now we're also speaking at a time and day which marks a very important milestone for Ayushman Bharat. So firstly, congratulations to you and the entire team for that. 1 crore treatments that have been completed in a period of just about 1.5 years. That's a very short duration for such a mammoth amount of treatments. How did you achieve this? And can you tell us a bit more about this milestone, sir?
Well, we're going to be, yeah, you're right. I don't say that it's something that we should be happy about, because a large amount of treatment shows that there is a very large amount of unmet need in terms of healthcare. But we feel satisfied that we have been able to fill that gap and come up with the 1 crore treatment in almost 1.5 years. The major, of course, we have a big team, and the team has made it happen. I'm just one part of the team, and I'm really proud of the team that has helped in doing this. One major pillar has been our IT framework, as I mentioned earlier, that without this IT platform, which can help us identify patient, document the treatment that person has done, and make the payment, it wouldn't have been possible, because otherwise, if we were doing anything paper-based, first of all, it would be very difficult to identify our beneficiaries. It would be very difficult to monitor the scheme, but technology has helped. And also the strong level of political commitment right from the top has helped a lot, because Honorable Prime Minister has been involved right from the beginning in the design of the process, implementation, monitoring, and he always has been providing a lot of support. So that also has helped in terms of the scheme. But Uday, I must say that it's still very early days. We still need to do a lot. There is a lot of work to be done to stabilize the scheme. We still need to take the scheme to the last mile. The awareness about the scheme has to be strengthened. We also need to work more on preventing any fraud and abuse that the system may have. We also need to ensure that not only we are providing services, but we are providing quality services. And so ensuring quality services is the challenge that we see. And also we see that right now, when we look across states, some states have done well, some states have not done well. And so ensuring that it reaches the entire country is also a challenge that we should ensure that service availability is uniformly available all over the country.
Okay. And what would be your message, though, at this point, sir, to those crores of beneficiaries of Ayushman Bharat scheme? What would be your message that you would send out to them through a platform like us this evening?
Well, I would tell them that we are here to serve you. And if there is any problem, if you are finding that you have any problem in seeking services and someone is asking for money, please let us know. We'll resolve that. I'll also appeal to the private sector and also hospitals that we would like to have even more hospitals on board. Right now, we have close to 22,000 hospitals, but moving forward, we want to have all best hospitals in the country supporting us in this mission of providing services to the poorest people in the country. And we hope that we can build an ecosystem which will help provide quality services and which are affordable and accessible to everyone in the country.
All right. And finally, Dr. Bhushan, before we let you go now, we are speaking, a few days after the government announced that mammoth stimulus for the economy, 20 lakh crore package, which of course was announced by the Prime Minister, the details of which were shared by the Finance Minister on 5 separate press conferences, because obviously so much needed to be announced last week. Now there's also a concentration on healthcare, and especially on the block level hospitals to deal with pandemic-like situations such as this one. How do you view that?
Well, that is a wonderful step. And as a matter of fact, I worked in other countries as well. And while SARS was going on, I was looking after the response to SARS from Asian Development Bank side, and had traveled to many of these countries who were experiencing SARS. And one major country that I was working on was Vietnam. And Vietnam did exactly what we are doing right now, developing this system of testing labs going up to the block level, and it's strengthening public health system. And we can see the result. Right now, for COVID, in last 2 months, I think they have had very few mortality. Of course, number of cases are also lower, but they have done remarkably well in terms of controlling and preventing COVID cases. Although they are just next to China, there's a huge traffic with China. A lot of Chinese people live in Vietnam, but they've done very well. So I'm hoping that this crisis, with this support that is coming to public health system, will also do the same thing for India, and we will come out stronger from this crisis.
All right, Dr. Indu Bhushan, CEO of the National Health Authority, and Ayushman Bharat. Appreciate you speaking with NewsX, sir. Thank you so much, and wish you all the very best as we continue this fight against COVID-19. Let's now turn our attention to cyclone Amphan. Now remember, West Bengal and Odisha